Well, here we are, another weekend. I believe it's Mother's Day, 11th or 12th. And I'm shooting up in the back here. My wife works at a retail store, and they're constantly throwing out plants. So you can see, I'm not sure what type of plant they are, but you can see that she planted them among the rocks. And they look pretty good there. I don't know if they'll take, but she's going to give it a try. Okay, so I did a video last week, actually the week before, but I didn't particularly like the way it came out. And pretty difficult to show inside now with a camera because of the open windows and everything now that it's painted. It's not quite as bright inside. But here we are, we planted a few more flowers here. I don't even know what those are, creeping something. And they're starting to bloom. Again, she got all of those, I'm going to guess maybe for free, because they were throwing them out. And then she nurtures them and brings them back to life. And look at them. Pretty good. Need to get a mower up here, a weed whacker anyways. We can't even get a mower in here unless it was a push mower. Maybe a nice little, bring my weed whacker up here and take care of it. Of course, the grass needs mowing also. The fields are plowed and ready for planting. You can see the grass down there. It just grows very well down there. Just gets the right amount of sun, water, and I enjoy mowing. And then I get to a point where I'm tired. So we started here this weekend. This door has been leaking. I've already taken it out once. You can see it in a very early video prior to siding. So this whole unit was taken apart. All of the trim was taken off. I cut the bottom pieces here. I used a razor knife, so I won't have much of a seam. But you can see that seam right there. It's still a decent sized seam, but the camera makes it look a little larger. But we took it out because again it was leaking down in this area here. But this time I used something a little different. You come in here, I'm going to show you back. You can see this white strip here. This white strip here. This is actually a threshold pan. I'm going to show you this piece here. And I recommend them on every door. I'll never put another door in without it. So here's the piece. You can see the ribs. You can see the ribs right there. And then they're on the top section here. So it actually sits on a pitch, exaggerated like this. And the ribs themselves make it level, so the door will sit level. And that's on the outside edge that hangs over. But then on the side, I'd have to put it down to show you the sides. Sides go on, and they actually, another piece comes around the corners and down, so you can flash around the corners, and it seals well. Actually, it completely seals from any water penetration, and it all drips out of here. There's actually passages here throughout the length of the pan. There's also sides, and the sides get flashed into the door jamb, and everything gets flashed around layer after layer, so it's actually so it sheds the water. So hopefully we're all set there. And then, let me close this door. 2 weeks ago we came up here and we put all the extension jambs on, and they came out wonderful. You can see the difference from a non-weathered sun-baked window to the new extension jamb, which is right here, to fur it out. Because this was a 2x4 window, and now we have a 2x6 wall here. And then we put on all of the trim. And as you can see, it's kind of hard. It's so dark in here with the way the camera captures the light. But here's the trim that we put up. And I just finished the door today. I could get back here if I can. Back it up. And See my lens is scratched. See that white opaque look on it. So all the trim is done except for the baseboard. My service manager at work has an EDM wire machine, actually not an EDM machine, but a plasma cutter. And he knows I have a Jeep Scrambler, so he made me a Jeep key holder. And here's the keys, and we just put that up today too. So here's another finished, here's a large extension jam. We did not, there was questioning a couple of weeks ago how I was going to attach these. And I had some wonderful tips on how to do it. But I did one that my wife's son, our oldest, is just a fabulous carpenter. And he said you just make the box. And I used a jig called a Craig jig that made pocket screws. And we screwed these together. And you can see a nice tight joint. So we made the box. We made the boxes. And then we shimmed them and got our reveal. I always want a 1/4 inch reveal. It just looks a little better when you do it that way. And then we nailed them in place. I did not set the screws, the finish nails yet, but I will. And then we did the same thing with the trim. We use this Craig tool that makes actually you want to pocket this way to go into horizontal grain rather than this way going into growth grain this way. It holds better this way. We boxed them on the floor, or actually assembled them on the floor. It pulls it nice and tight. Now it could be tighter if we went with the finished sawn edge, but I wanted the rough cut edge to be exposed. So therefore this roughness here doesn't seat it that well, but I think it came out beautiful. And I don't know if you can see it, but tilt the camera or something, but that's tough to see with the way the light comes in and distorts the picture. And this is my wife's window. The kitchen countertops will be here. This is almost like this is a very unique looking wood. Even though it's just pine, it's rough cut sawn pine, dried, and then we just sanded it with 80 grit and then 220, and it came out beautiful. And we put them together. And what else did we do? Well, I brought up my father's old table saw. That must weigh about 50, 60 pounds. You can see the thickness of material here of the base. And that's an old Sears and Roebuck. I believe he got it when I was probably, oh my goodness, he built the house in 57, so probably right around there is when he picked this up. We also, last week, we insulated the bathroom. I know we don't really need to insulate the bathroom, but we did. The ceilings were done quite a while ago. This wall over here in the cold zone was done a while ago. But now, we finished down at the bottom. The pipes are inside, so we don't never have to worry about them freezing when we're here, when there's water going through them. But then we insulated the walls. We insulated the walls because, I don't know if we can see it here. No, we can't, but down there there's going to be an electric heater right down at the bottom. It's going to be a little 2-footer, and it's going to have its own control on it, so that on a day when we don't need the electric heat on, we'll be able to just come in here, close the door, turn that on, and within a very short period of time, it'll be nice and warm because we're able to capture all the heat and keep it within the walls of the bathroom. So these are some other things I've done too, we've done, but I just can't think of them. So we're planning to be here next weekend. I guess what we're going to do is we're going to get the plumber up here to finish the bathroom. I guess we're going to install our own shower walls with tile, and we'll get him to set the tile, excuse me, the shower base, plumb it in, finish the plumbing, well, rough plumbing anyways, and then we'll continue. Also, I think I showed you the paint a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know if I remember saying this though. So here, this is a 5-inch can, and you can see my mistake first time using one of the roto zips to zip that out. I was told to use a 5-inch can because the lights that cover it are the same for a 5 as it is for a 6. So if you make a mistake, the trim ring for a 6-inch does a great job on hiding any imperfections that you've done. So here's what we're going to use. Our electrical division told me to use this. This is a halo. There's less costly ones. This is a 5 or 6-inch round. You can see inside that the light is recessed, so it's an LED. It's actually 65 watt. I believe it burns 7 watts, maybe 9 watts. Probably says it on here somewhere. I remember reading, but something along those lines. Very, very, very little consumption. As a matter of fact, it'll burn for 70,000 hours or 6 hours a day for 32 years. Also, it's dimmable. Here. And it also has 5 settings of color. I don't know if it shows it. Yeah, it has 5 settings of color from a warm white to a bluish, a very white setting. So before we set them in place, we will do some experimenting to see what we would like. That's going to be the kitchen over there. So maybe we want it the brighter, I don't know. But it will be dimmable. Matter of fact, you can see it here. If you can see it, they only burn 7.6 watts. So 2 of them will be going in there. Next week, we will have an electrician in here, licensed electrician. He's going to wire our electrical panels already in place. It's a 200 amp 30 slot Cutler hammer panel, and square D panel. And he's going to put in 8 circuits, as well as our new electric stove. And he's going to put a few extra ones in because I'm going to put a heater out in the little shed area too. And then I'm going to have him wire everything that's not wired here. For example, there'll be 2 switches here. I don't mind. I don't particularly like, not that I don't mind, I do mind. I made everything out of 12-2 wire. 12-2 wire gets more current going through it. I believe that's the proper term, or more amperage going through it. That requires a 20 amp breaker rather than a 15 amp breaker, which you can use for lights. But I'm not an electrician, so I didn't want to confuse my 15 wire, my 14-2 wire with my 12-2 wire for my outlets, blah, blah, blah. So everything is 12-2, and I just don't like goofing around with it. It's a pain for me. It's like wrestling Hulk Hogan, and I just as soon not. So that's about it. We put up this new light. For some reason, our old one burnt out, and I guess we still wanted it to look like it was the light that's been up there, an exterior light. I've got the lumber to trim all of this out. Oh, I also filled in down there. Down there they were missing because they had to take a bottom one off when they put when they built the building up against the existing building. And then we're in here. I don't show this very often, but this is the inside of the old cabin that we put up in 1995, I believe. It was supposed to have had a higher pitched roof on it. It was supposed to have had a 12-12 pitch roof on it. We were going to put a loft up here, a sleeping loft, but it came as a 7-12, and that's as tall as you can have it to go over the open roads for clearances for utility wires, etc., and traffic lights. So that's our storage up there. And well, I think that's enough. I think that's enough for now. And I don't know, I think maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, we put up the heaters. The heaters are wired in place, painted. I don't know if you can see them. I probably should make a little layout before I haphazardly film these. So our heaters, we sanded them at home, took a very fine roller and rolled out the same color, so they're ready to go. So I'll have probably about 2,800 watts of heat in here, plus another 500 watts in the bathroom. Every foot of electric heat coupled to a 20 amp breaker produces, excuse me, every foot is 250 watts. So that's a 7-footer, that's a 4-footer, that's a 7-footer, that's a 5-footer, and there'll be a 2-footer in there, so you can do the math. 7 times 250 is what, plus 5 times 250. Anyways, I'm going on. And I did a little, I kind of put this reminds me of an old barn. I usually put a little bit of a angle look to differentiate the door from the rest of it. So I'm jumping all over the place. I guess that's why last week 2 weeks ago I did not put a video in because I was doing the same thing. So I guess it's time to hang up. So until next week.